Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Janice Lo. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. The government stands firm on the minimum enrollment for Primary 1 classes. Booths are installed on streets to promote the revamp of district councils. And in Serbia, 8 people are killed in the second mass shooting in 48 hours. Education Secretary Christine Choi has dismissed criticisms that the government is being too harsh on the minimum enrollment requirement for Primary 1 classes. Her remarks came as 2 schools run by the Salvation Army decided to merge because of a declining student population in Eastern District. Chloe Feng reports.
5 schools cannot operate Primary 1 classes in the next academic year after being unable to enroll a minimum of 16 students per class. 3 schools were just 1 short of the threshold. Calls to lower the required minimum were dismissed by Education Minister Christine Choi. She noted that the threshold has already been cut from 24 to 16. There will always be the case when an institution falls just 1 short, she said, arguing that a line must be drawn on the minimum number. Choi believes that a class with fewer than 16 students is not ideal for their social and academic development and participation in extracurricular studies. She said schools that fail to get government funding because they cannot meet the threshold can opt for private finance or merge with another institution. To cope with the changing demographic in Eastern District, the Salvation Army's Centerline Charity Fund School in Taiwan has decided to merge with the Unwiley Memorial School in Hengfachon. The plan has been submitted to the Education Bureau, but it is not known when the merger will occur or which will be the host school. Some parents are worried that students may not be able to adapt to the new environment. This student, meanwhile, hopes to continue studying in the Taiwan school, where he has been for 4 years. Choi said the government will help in the transition to the merger. Hong Kong's student population has been declining because of immigration and a low birth rate. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
The city's top sports body says it's even more disappointed with the Ice Hockey Association after it submitted a report defending itself over a national anthem fiasco in Bosnia in February. Edgar Yang from the Sports Federation and Olympic Committee of Hong Kong, China, accused the ice hockey group of making false claims instead of revealing the details of the blunder. The Honorary Secretary General denied that the Sports Federation had accused the Ice Hockey Group of disrespecting the anthem. Yang said the Ice Hockey Association had not stated clearly when, where, and how it had submitted to the national anthem to the Bosnian organizer in the form of a USB. Street booths have been set up to promote and seek public support for the overhaul of district councils. Senior government officials were present when the kiosks opened.
Street booths have been set up in prominent locations to promote the district council overhaul announced 3 days ago. At 8 sharp, Chief Executive John Lee arrived at the booth set up by pro-Beijing lawmakers Stanley Ng and Edward Leung. Under the revamp, district officers will chair the councils instead of members electing a chairperson. I hope all the policies will benefit citizens and promote good governance, Lee said. Another booth was set up in Causeway Bay by an alliance that supports the improvement of district governance. Alliance convener Starry Lee was joined at the launch by several bureau heads, including Constitutional Chief Eric Tsang, Home Affairs Minister Alice Mack, Security Secretary Chris Tang, and Health Chief Lo Chung Mao. Lee, who also heads the city's biggest pro-Beijing party, said the district council overhaul will benefit the public.
I have over 20 years of experience serving as a district council. I can see that really the previous council may not be even able to, do our hygiene issue properly. Otherwise, we don't need to have a, deputy secretary to handle that issue.
The overhaul allows the future district councils to fully abide by Article 97 of the Basic Law, according to the Justice Secretary.
設立區域組織咧係可以做嘅事情。
It states that the government may set up district organizations that do not exercise political power, Paul Lam said. He added that the amendment of the relevant legislation would reflect the spirit and intention of Article 97. The term of the existing councils expire at the end of the year. They will be replaced by new bodies in which the number of directly elected members is drastically reduced. Other councillors will be appointed by the chief executive or nominated by district committees.
A giant statue commemorating the victims of the Tiananmen Square crackdown has been seized by National Security Police. The Pillar of Shame was removed from the University of Hong Kong's campus in 2021, a year after the national security law was imposed. It has since been placed in storage in Shek Kong at the university's Kadoorie Center, a research facility for environmental science. Police armed with a warrant took possession of the artwork this morning, saying it was related to a subversion case. No further details were announced. Overseas, Serbia is observing 3 days of mourning after a second mass shooting in less than 48 hours, this time leaving 8 people dead and 13 wounded. The suspect was arrested following an hours-long manhunt. Raymond Young reports.
Military personnel roamed Dubona, a small town south of the capital Belgrade, one night after another mass murder left Serbia shell-shocked. According to local media, the 21-year-old suspect, whose father is a military person, had an altercation with his family at a school. He left the scene before returning with an automatic rifle and a handgun for the shooting spree. From a moving car, the man guns down people picked at random. After the attack in Dubona, he continued his rampage in the nearby villages of Malo Orasje and Sepsin. A massive surge involving special forces and a helicopter was launched overnight, while all roads in and out of the area were sealed off. The gunman was eventually located in Kragujevic, about an hour's drive from the scene. It is believed he carjacked a taxi and drove to his uncle's house before the taxi driver notified police. Authorities have declared the shooting an act of terror. It came just 1 day after a 13-year-old boy shot dead 8 fellow students and a security guard at a primary school in Belgrade, in what was said to be a premeditated attack. In his second televised address in 2 days, President Alexander Vučić said the country must make a decision to confront the evil. He also announced laws will be amended to increase the penalties for the unauthorized possession of weapons, as well as a plan to install a policeman in every school in Serbia. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has expressed disappointment over the continued detention in Britain of journalist Julian Assange, who is wanted by the United States on espionage charges.
Enough is enough. There is nothing to be served by his ongoing incarceration, and I am concerned about Mr. Assange's mental health. I know it's frustrating. I share the frustration. I can't do more than make very clear what my position is, and the US administration is certainly very aware of what the Australian government's position is.
Washington wants Assange, who's Australian, extradited from Britain, to put him on trial for releasing confidential US files. The files, published by WikiLeaks, exposed US military misdeeds in occupied countries. Assange has been languishing in prison since 2019 when police in London dragged him out of Ecuadorian embassy where he had holed up for 7 years to avoid extradition. One of the world's biggest logistics companies is relocating its Asia-Pacific headquarters from Hong Kong to Singapore. FedEx said the move will allow it to operate in the region with greater speed and agility. Around 15% of its Hong Kong workforce, including regional president Kawal Preet, will also move to Singapore. Some non-essential roles may be shifted to Malaysia or India to cut costs, according to the Straits Times. The news is a blow to Hong Kong, which remains the world's busiest air cargo hub even after a 16% drop in volume handled last year. The city's catering business has improved significantly, with first quarter receipts surging over 80% from last year. Restaurants took in $27.6 billion, up 81.7% from the first 3 months of last year. Purchases by eateries jumped to $9 billion, marking a 73.8% annual increase. Chinese restaurants were the biggest winners, with total receipts soaring 127%. The rebound came as Hong Kong returned to normal and a surge in the number of visitors. Hong Kong stocks have made their biggest weekly gain in 2 months, with investors betting on interest rate cuts amid speculation of more bank failures in the United States. The Hang Seng Index rose 0.5% today, but was up 0.8% for the week. A further boost came from a private survey showing growth in the mainland's service sector for the 4th month in a row. Baidu jumped 3.8% to lead a tech sector rally, while Tencent added 1.5%. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day up 100 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent was up $5, Tracker Fund was up 10 cents, while Ping An was up 80 cents. Meituan was up $3.60, ICBC was up 10 cents, while Bank of China was up 3 cents. To the foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.64, the pound's at 9.89, while the Australian dollar is turning 5.27. Over in Europe, the FTSE 100 is currently up 36 points. On to the weather now. Tomorrow will be warm with a maximum temperature of 31 degrees. There will be sunny periods and some showers. More frequent showers on Sunday and Monday when thunderstorms are also expected. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Friday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Janice Lo. Good night.